Okay, there'll be a test over this either Wednesday of this week or Thursday. It's 3 problems. Now, here's the first problem. It relates to a shape. So it says a picture is 8 by 7 inches. And you see the picture 8 by 7. I'm going to put a border around the outside. When I do, the combined area is going to be 110 square inches. How wide should my border be? So I have to set up an expression for my area. So first off, from here to here is 8. And this is x, because I don't know the outsides. And from here to here is 7. And these are x's as well. Because I don't know how wide that border is going to be. Because that's the answer to the problem. By the way, I forgot to do something. Go down here and put inches or IN or something. I'll have that for you on it when we take a test. Okay, so since I'm talking area, I need 2 parentheses. Because area is the length multiplied by the width. So the length is the bottom part. So how many x's go across that bottom? 2. And there's an 8 in the middle that we would add. And then the width, okay, we have 2 x's and a 7, so 2x plus 7. So that's my length times my width. Because they're talking area again, okay? That's what they give me. So I need to come up with the expression for the area. So now I multiply this out. So I take 2x times 2x. I take 2x times 7. And then I go back and repeat the procedure with the 8. So it's 8 times the same 2 factors, 2x and 7. Okay, so the x's are all to the first power. When I'm multiplying, I need to watch out for that. So 2 times 2 is 4. Next, 1 plus 1 is 2. We add the powers of the x. 2 times 7 is 14. And then x to the first power. 8 times 2 is 16. And then x to the first power. And 8 times 7 is 56. So now, I have these 2 powers that are the same. The highest power in the bunch is 2. So blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank. So for x second, I have 4 of those. Now for x, that means x to the first. I add 14 to 16. That's 30. And then I take my 56 right here. Okay, now I have the expression for the area. Now I go down here and make an equation. Now the area is 110 square inches. And I have an expression for the area. Remember, length times width equals the area. Okay, so I put 4x to the second plus 30x plus 56. And now I have an equation. And now I solve the equation. Okay. So how many answers does the equation have? Well, it has 2 because x is to the second power. It has to be set equal to 0, and it's not. It's not set, so I need to set it myself. Okay, so x second I have 4. X I have 30. And non-x's, I have these 2 numbers here, but they're on opposite sides. So what I need to do is, remember, I want 0 here. So I subtract 110, and that's 0, and subtract 110 from 56. So 56 minus 110 is negative 54. Okay. Now, how many terms do I need to factor? 3. So GCF and T. So I set up those 2 items right there. Okay, so I'll write GCF off this side since I didn't leave enough room under it. Okay. So is the first number negative in the equation? No, 4 is the first number. It's not negative, so we don't put a negative. Now is x on all three terms? Well, we have x second, we have x to the first, but we don't have x on 54, so I can't do anything with the x's here, here, or under the line. Now I use my GCF calculator. Remember, you have to have some perseverance on this problem. Okay, so I'm going to calculate 4, 30, and 54. Whoops, that was wrong. 30. I got this all screwed up. Okay, I got 2 as my GCF. So I put a 2 here, and because it's 2, but no, not 2x, just 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and we will still have x to the second. 30 divided by 2 is 15, x to the first. And then negative 54 divided by 2 is negative 27, so minus 27. Then, of course, my table, I'm using ABC. And I will be multiplying positive 2 times negative 27. That gives me a negative 54. So I have a negative product, and that would mean we want a minus to try to get to 15, which is positive. 1 and 54, nope. 1, because 54 minus 1 is 53. I got to get it to 15. 2 and 27. 27 minus 2 is 25. 3 and 18. 18 minus 3 is 15, so it's got to be these two. And my 15 is positive, and having a negative up there means the signs have to be the opposite. So this would have to be a minus. Now my a up there is 2x to the second. Okay. So I make my parentheses, and I start with a 2 in front of each x variable. And then I minus 3 and plus 18. Now I GCF these to simplify it, 2 and 3. Okay, the GCF's 1, so dividing by 1 we'll just keep it 2x minus 3. And then 2 and 18, the greatest common factor is 2. That's 1x plus 9. Now that's times. Now we did have a GCF of 2 here. So now I'm ready to go, because all this is equal to 0. I just took this and wrote it in a different formation. But this didn't have x, so the F1 and F2 come here. Okay? So I set each of those factors equal to 0. So I dot my x, circle it, and dot my x, circle it. So I add 3, and that's 3. But then we needed to divide 3 by 2. And 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. So 1.5. And then I minus 9. 0 minus 9 is negative 9. And dividing by 1 still keeps me at negative 9. Okay, now what's higher? The positive. So 1.5 inches is how long these x's are. So that's 8. That'd be 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. So again, it's very important that we're talking area. Length times width of a rectangle's area. So I multiply out the length and the width, and then I set it equal to what it tells me the area is, set it, and do my GCFT. Okay. A paper airplane is launched off the balcony from a height of 20 feet with a velocity of 76 feet per second. After how many seconds will it land on the ground? So seconds is the answer. And now I write the 2 units here. feet in seconds. And x is the seconds, y is the feet. So the rate of change, feet per second, the initial rate of change. And feet per second is 76. Okay, let's cross out 76 then. So a paper airplane doesn't go up forever. It goes up, comes down, and forms a parabola. Okay, P-A-R-A-B-O-L-A. So on a parabola, we just need to identify where it starts and where it ends, how many feet. Well, before 76, I see 20. So 20 feet is where it begins. And I don't see any other numbers, so it lands at 0 feet. And now I construct my equation. Now a parabola has blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank equals y. Now the first blank's a number I don't have in the problem. It's gravity, because gravity's making it come back down, and that's negative 16x to the second. Okay, and then my x is my feet per second, which is 76. And then my third blank's where we started at, which is 20. And then my y is whatever's here, which is 0 feet. So we put 0 here. And now I can solve the equation. I know there are two answers. It has to be set equal to 0, and this time it is, so I don't need to set it. It's already set for me. And I have three terms, so it would be GCF and T. Okay, GCF is the first number in the equation negative. Yes. Is x on all three terms? Well, we have x second on that term. We have x to the first on that term, but I don't have an x on the 20, so I can't put an x with my GCF. Now, GCF calculator, you're 16, 76, and 20. Hit calculate, and it says it's 4. So negative 4, remember I'm not going to do an x there, so it's just negative 4. So negative 16 divided by negative 4 is 4, and then the x stays to the second. Then I take positive 76 divided by negative 4, and I get negative 19, so minus 19, and then x to the first. 20 divided by negative 4 is negative 5, so minus 5. Okay, and then I go down to my table, but the ABC comes from the parentheses, not from up here. And also A is equal to 4x to the second. Okay, so A times C. So I take positive 4 times negative 5, I get negative 20. So I got a negative, so it's going to be another minus, and I'm trying to minus to 19. 19's negative. 1 and 20. 20 minus 1 is 19. So we have negative. We have a negative here, so the signs are opposite. Okay. So I have the numbers, and I know A is 4, so I want to start with 4 in front of each x. And then plus 1 minus 20. Okay, so GCF out of 4 and 1 is 1. Okay, so that'll stay the same. Now 4 and 20, the GCF, is 4. So that is 1x minus 5. And again, we did have a GCF here of negative 4, so we pull that down. Now remember, this means multiplied, and it equals 0. So these are my F factors here, the ones with the x. Those are the ones I use. So 4x plus 1 equals 0. Or it's possible that 1 times x minus 5 could equal 0. So I dot and circle. So I minus 1. And that's negative 1. Divide by 4. So negative 1 divided by 4 is negative 0.25. And then I add 5, and that's 5. Divided by 1, we're still at 5. So 5 is the greater answer, so it takes 5 seconds. That's a heck of a paper airplane to be in the air for 5 seconds. Okay, and the last one. Startled armadillo jumps straight into the air with an initial vertical velocity of 14 feet per second. After how many seconds does it land on the ground? So again, we have feet and seconds. Kind of seems like the last problem, but there's going to be a difference down here. So per feet per second, it's 14 feet per second. Delete that. And here's where the difference happens. I don't see any other number before the 14 feet per second, so that's 0 feet, and he lands at 0 feet. So I construct my equation from the parabola. I'm going to have an x to the second term. That's what a parabola does. It makes an x to the second equation plus blank x plus blank equals y. So again, what's the force pulling this down? It's gravity. And gravity in an algebra equation is negative 16x to the second. And then the feet per second is 14. And I look, oh, 0. So I delete that space. And then I do need to put the 0 in for the y. Don't delete the y. Okay, yeah. So now I can solve the equation. There's 2 answers, but this one only has 2 terms. So that would be greatest common factor and difference of perfect squares. GCF. And we're going to see if we have a difference of perfect squares after I get done with my GCF. Okay, so the GCF, well, is the first number in the equation negative? Yes. Is x on both terms? We have x to the second, and we have x to the first. So x is in both terms, so I want to take the x to the smaller power, which is a first. Then I GCF calculator the 16 and the 14 to see what could go in front of that x to the first and then between the negatives. So that would be 2. So not only do I do negative 2, I take x to the first with it. And I go up and divide not just by negative 2, but by negative 2x to the first. So that's positive 8. And on the x, I take 2 minus 1, and that's 1. And then 14 divided by negative 2 is negative 7, so minus 7. And then 1 minus 1 is nothing, so we get rid of that. Now your dots. Do we have an x to the second? Remember, I'm looking here now. No, it's to the first, so this is not possible. So I have everything I need. We get rid of the first powers here. And this is my F1, and that's your F2. So negative 2x could equal 0, or 8x minus 7 could equal 0. So divide by negative 2, and we have 0. Plus 7. 0 plus 7 is 7. And then we've got to divide by 8. I take 7 divided by 8. 0.875. Well, that's not a very big number, but it is the highest we have, so that's got to be the number of seconds it was in the air for. Okay, so everything's kind of set up. When you're doing an area problem, you length, width, multiply it out, equals that, move it over, go through the process. But on an equation where I have 2 units where gravity's in there, okay, we go with this one right here.